Welcome, Katie, to this afternoon session. So let's do a quick check-in. If you've got anything to share, anything arising, then now's the time. Otherwise, we'll go into some reading and practice of today's today's lesson, and I also want to do the sixth pathway to higher consciousness. So
I'm really excited to see that I want to take responsibility for my side because it brings me joy instead of suffering. The experience I had, the sadness and suffering I felt when I was I told you about it, the situation where I was mean to one of my friends, and then after that I was sad, and I knew I'm not sad because I was mean to him. Of course I don't want to be mean to him. But I was not sad. The sadness didn't come from that. I was crying. I was like, why is the sadness here? And today, so I was allowing that today again. And it was so, I like it to watch myself, how I'm doing this, like emotions coming up and crying. Like, wow, this is amazing how much crying is possible when because I'm a cosmic student. Okay. Like it just opens it, what was there buried in the unconscious. And then I saw it, oh, I'm crying because I was inauthentic, not authentic, and it's like I'm making myself to something I'm not, like the course is telling me. It's like I'm taking his word and just push it into my heart, and that's what I'm doing to myself. And then I thought, oh yes, attacking, if I feel what was that, if I defend myself, I'm attacked. I attack myself, right?
Exactly, yeah. If I defend myself and I'm attacked, in my defenselessness lies my safety. It's an ongoing message of the course. Don't attack yourself, because that's rather insane.
Yeah, and then that brings me that I was like, okay, so what is the opposite? If I'm not need to defend myself, why do I not need to defend myself? Yeah, because I am not this body. Like this is a dream. That's the reason why I don't need to defend myself. I'm not here, and I'm because I'm mind. And if I believe that I need to defend myself, I'm attacked. I am the cause and effect of the dream, because I'm the dreamer. That's like, wow, to really wrap my head around it. That's a different task, to not only see, okay, it didn't make any sense, okay, and now what does make actually sense? How would that look like to do it? Like no defending what, like the whole world is my interaction with the world, and me is then different. Like I say, I have no clue about myself. It seems like I have no clue about myself.
Yeah, that is what Jesus is saying. He's saying you've lost the plot. The ego lost the plot. You don't have any idea anymore who you are. You're very confused. If you're confused about who you are, then you're going to be confused about everything, because that's the basis of your life, who you are. So it's the most profound confusion you can have. You don't know who you are anymore.
Yeah, it's like
you're something you're not. Oh wow, okay. So everything you're thinking and feeling and saying and doing is now coming from a basis of who you're not rather than who you are. And it's going to be profoundly confusing and upsetting and disturbing to your peace of mind. This is what he's saying. Until you recognize who you are, you can't fix it. Like by trying to change things on the level of form, you're not going to fix that problem because who you are remains the problem. Who you think
I put it there.
Mm.
I put it there.
So it's awakening, and it is a journey, and it's a process, and it can be quite intense and quite let me say the word hectic. I don't know what you'd say in German, but hectic just means it's overwhelming. You know, it's like it's so difficult, challenging to deal with, and I think everyone goes through that.
I like to cry. That's a good thing for me.
Yeah, it is good just to let it out and not hold back, because why are you holding back if it's a release? And interesting, your name kind of speaks to that, doesn't it? Carthager. So in English there's the word catharsis. You know, are you familiar with that word?
Yes.
Catharsis. So that's kind of in your it's similar sounding to your name.
Yeah, cool.
Carthager. So it's like this catharsis. When you cry, it's like a release. You see, a catharsis is a way of releasing or letting go of emotion, particularly emotion. And so you experience it. It's like a cathartic. You experience it fully, and then so you cry, but then there's a releasing, and you feel kind of clean and washed out afterwards.
Yes, I love that feeling.
And
also after I cry, it's I'm feeling more. Yeah, it's like a heavy weight is lifted up from my heart, and I got inspirations and joy is there.
Yeah. So it's a letting go mechanism. You actually release cortisol and adrenaline in your tears. Cortisol and adrenaline are the stress hormones. So when you cry, it's a way of the body processing those excess chemicals, and they come out in the tears. So if you've ever been in a traumatic situation, and then you feel the need to cry, it's like the body's way of trying to deal with it.
If I'm in a traumatic situation which I dreamed about, and I'm crying, which I dreamed too.
Could be. So the question is, what level was the dream? You know, were you dreaming at night? You dreaming awake dreaming? Because it's all the same, really. It's actually all the same. You know, Jesus is saying your waking dreams and your sleeping dreams are actually the same, although we see them as different. It doesn't matter whether you're dreaming at night or you're dreaming in the world and it seems to be real. You know, it's just a different form of a dream. How do you know you've really woken up? When you wake up in the morning. That's the interesting thing. You come into a different state of consciousness, it seems. So now a different reality. How do you know that's awakening? How do you know it's not just another version of the dream? Okay, so yeah, let's have a little look at today's
I have to go in 1 hour.
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll see if we can get done by then. Pretty sure we can. Because it's a short lesson and the sixth pathway is only 3 paragraphs. So we'll read it, discuss it, then we'll go into the lesson, read and discuss the lesson, then practice the lesson and meditation. That should take us up to 3 o'clock your time. Okay, so can you see the screen?
Yeah,
Okay. Do you want to read the sixth pathway?
of course. I accept myself completely here and now and consciously experience everything I feel, think, say, and do, including my emotion-backed addictions, as a necessary part of my growth into higher consciousness. The living love.
Oh,
Wait.
wait. We'll just do it paragraph by paragraph. Just stop and unpack it. Okay, so this is the key idea, the sixth pathway, which remember is about being here now. These are all about being in the present moment. Pathways 4 to 6, as he says. So, and they all interlock. You see that they relate to each other, the fifth pathway and the sixth pathway. So, any thoughts on this?
I have a question. It's like, it. So, is it like that we have to start with pathway 1?
Well, no. Yeah, I mean, it is sequential. So he's talking about, he lists them in some kind of order. But as he says here, they're systematically interlocking.
Oh, yeah. That's what you just
follow,
said.
you follow any one of them completely on the deeper levels. You'll be using almost all of them. They're systematically interlocking. This makes it easier for you to implement them in action. So, if you really live this pathway, I accept myself completely here and now, consciously experience everything I feel, think, say, and do, including my emotion-backed addictions, as a necessary part of my growth into higher consciousness, then I'm taking full responsibility here and now for everything I experience. See?
Yeah, that's what I want to do.
Yeah. So those two absolutely work. You're in the same frame of mind, same state of mind. They're just pointers. See, these are all ways in, aren't they? All of these teachings, the lessons, are pointers or ways in to a different state of mind that then activates through the words. And you're, okay, so that takes me into something that's more interesting, more helpful. And so, I use these pointers to create a state, to change my state and enter a higher state of mind. So it's another tool. Use it or don't use it. It's up to you. If you find these helpful, then use them. You can remind yourself of them every day, one a day, if you like. We've already got a daily practice, so I haven't incorporated them into the course after we've done the initial one, because I think it might be confusing for people. You've got now a daily lesson, and there's already a lot of material. So it's like, at what point is enough? And are you kind of overwhelming people? So, but we study them in the background. They're there, and also what I like about these is they're very much reinforced the course's teaching. And it's absolutely saying exactly what, in slightly different language, exactly what Course in Miracles is saying we should do. Coming from another pathway, it's drawing on Eastern teachings here. You can see Buddhism, probably there's bits of Advaita, Vedanta, that are coming through here, because he didn't just fetch these out of nowhere. So it's a kind of modern version of Eastern teachings, and you see, well, this is absolutely in alignment. The Course in Miracles, there's no contradiction, and this could be helpful to remember that this is all, this is happening here and now. I'm consciously experiencing everything I feel, I think, and say, and do, including my addictions. So it kind of puts you into a non-judgmental space, doesn't it?
Yeah, that stillness.
So I'm able to not judge myself. Observe the addictive pattern arising, and I can just.
I'm not the addictive pattern. I'm the watcher of it.
Yeah, exactly. So you move into the observer or the watcher, and then you don't beat yourself up about it. It's like, okay, well, it's just a pattern. It's not you know, say if you go, oh, well, I'm so terrible, I'm so bad, I can't get rid of this addiction. Why can't, you know, then that's the little self again, making the whole thing into a drama. But if you simply observe and go, okay, I did it again, or I did it, you know, that pattern arose again. You change the language. That pattern arose again. I experienced this. Okay, what did that feel like? Okay, you know, it was an experience. Did it feel good? Did it, you might say, well, temporarily I felt relieved, because that's what addictions do. They temporarily relieve your desire, your craving. But
do they really relieve it? Isn't it more like they keep me, they help me to shift my attention away. I'm just putting my attention somewhere else to not feel. Yeah, it's like,
it's a temporary relief. It's like I feel this, like any addict will tell you, you know, and you can observe in yourself, even a mild addiction. It's like I want to do something. There's like a feeling of like, right, you got to do this, and it's not necessarily logical or rational. You know, you need that, whatever it is, that substance. You need that activity. You got to do this, and it's like a compulsive type of feeling. And so when
isn't that the distortion?
Yeah, it's a distorted miracle impulse, absolutely. And so if you listen to it and you honor it, then temporarily you'll feel some relief, because that craving will go away. But okay, you know, finally I'm talking to Elaine the other day about chocolate and cheese. Finally, you know, I'm having my chocolate. You know, oh, so nice, so nice. Oh. And then it's like, okay, now the chocolate's gone. And then I'm like, okay, so that didn't last very long, and now
I need something else.
And now the dissatisfaction comes in again. See, it's like, oh, I'm not really satisfied. Okay, so then the ego says, well, go get some more of it. You know, so now have more chocolate, and you end up feeding your face with chocolate, or go do something else, distract to something else, go surf the internet, go shopping. Whatever other activity, because it's a dissatisfaction, it's a restlessness that's there, and then you're trying to satisfy it from the outside, and it's never works. And so the Buddha noticed that this is the source of all suffering. This craving just creates this dissatisfaction, this unhappiness continuously as the undercurrent of your life. That's your continuous state when you're in craving, is you're always dissatisfied, because you're never able to just accept what is now and who you are now, because that the ego keeps you craving for some other experience than now, and keeps you looking for yourself somewhere else. Or you find yourself in the chocolate, you'll find yourself in that activity. It's a self-concept that's now playing out, and you won't find yourself. That's the truth. So it's always going to be dissatisfying, because it isn't true. So that's the nature of truth and illusion. Truth will satisfy you wholly if you accept it, because it's true and it needs nothing else. And illusion will never satisfy you, because it's not true, and you always feel lacking and wanting, no matter how much you try and meet your cravings. You'll continue craving, because that's the pattern of the ego. It's going to continue desiring until you're willing to look at the pattern and stop it. And so this is, these pathways are the stopping. I accept myself completely here and now. Okay, I'm just accepting myself right now. There's no desiring. I don't need anything else to make myself complete, to make myself happier. I accept right here and now. I am, you know, there's a presence, and it's here and now, and I can just sit with it and be in it and accept it. And I don't need to move. You know, I can just sit as I am. And that's meditation, you know, as a practice. But even when you're walking around, you're doing things, you're doing activity, you know, it's the idea that I am that I am. I'm here now, and there's nothing else really. my presence is my presence. I have the very essence of life in me, and how could I want more? I already have everything. And then if you notice addictions coming up, you just say, well, this is a necessary part of my growth into higher consciousness, because in order to really find myself and this now, I have to become aware of the addictions that block the awareness of this and release them. So they are going to come up, and that's necessary that they come up, and that I'm aware of them. And then I'm able to let them go and not judge them as real. So,
And what yeah.
You got a question?
No, I have an insight. So what came to me was when I'm in the right mind and feel the joyfulness and the satisfaction, I have the ability to zoom in, like being in flow, or zoom out, and also like I have the access to both, like zoom in, being in flow,
Mm.
and the other is to zoom out and be the observer. And when I'm in addiction, it's like I'm like then it's the substitute for zooming in is like getting lost in it and getting like in an unconscious way, like being feeling like being driven, like the thought is running me, like I'm like there's this picture of yoga of that the horses are, I think the horses are the thoughts or something like that, they are the mind, and you are in the a cart behind it, and they're like, oh, they go crazy, but you, because you are not taking responsibility for calming the mind. And the other zooming out is for me an addiction, when I am like feeling, yeah, it's also a way of getting lost, like you, yeah, it's like there is no zooming out possible to me right now. Or did I miss something? It's like when I'm doing something addictive, seems like it's not possible to zoom out.
Yeah, you certainly don't transcend. I think you kind of zone out. They say, oh, I'm just zoning out on, I'm binge watching TV, or I'm zoning out on scoffing some unhealthy food. And people just go into kind of I think they try and zoom out inappropriately, you see. So instead of just transcending and letting go and going to a higher state of mind, they go, I'll just indulge the addiction. And I'll kind of I'll zone out of feeling. So addictions numb you. That's the way we try and deal with them. So instead of transcending them above the battleground, going to this clear, calm space in your mind where there are no addictions, the ego is saying, okay, well, you've got emotional turbulation going on. It's difficult. So just the addiction is gonna help you, distract you. So, indulge your addiction, and your senses are going to be distracted, and you won't have to deal with any emotional pain. And so then there's the idea of zoning out. I'm just like zoning out on, and people do it all the time. They zone out on TV, or they zone out on eating bad foods, or it's like indulge the senses, and I'll feel better temporarily, but they're not actually dealing with what's the real problem. So it's interesting. Are you using those terms because of the
email?
Sent out an email. Was it yesterday or the day before? I can't remember.
It was yesterday.
It was yesterday. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's just bring that up, shall we? So it would be day 10, day 9. Let's see if I can find it. There we go. Zoning in and zoning out. Yeah, there we go. So zooming in. An interesting way of looking at the benefits of meditation. Because often the benefits, people focus on health benefits. Okay, well, it's going to do this for your health, and research shows that it lowers your stress levels, it lowers cortisol and adrenaline levels, and activates parasympathetic nervous system, and that's all good. But actually, what it's doing is it's changing your attention. It's changing the way you can pay attention and focus. So you've got this zooming in capability where you focus on what you're doing in the present moment, which is the basis of all skillful action, as the Buddhists call it, and the essence of being in flow is this zooming in idea. And then zooming out is entering a state that transcends the body, to rise above the battleground. So you can actually be very focused and in the now and present in this flowing state, and then you can also go out of it. You can let go of all attachment to the material world and go into a transcendent state where you're not acting, you're just being. And so that gives you a higher perspective on whatever you're experiencing, because in that zooming out, you are actually letting go of negative thoughts and emotions.
And that brings me then, I had experience when I'm zooming out, I will, after some time, I get into zoom in because I'm inspired by something, some inspiration is coming in.
Yeah. So it's interesting how they work together, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's like zooming in is like play your dream character, and so be like do your job here, what like as a teacher of God. And zooming out is like remember that you are, that the Holy Spirit is like I'm getting so excited right now. So zooming in is like being in the dream helpful was because then we need flow, like and zooming out is, but in truth you need to do nothing, like remembering of stillness, and then zooming in, and now that Holy Spirit's guidance guide me.
So it's
like being
these two levels, really. It's just two levels of reality. Zooming in is being able to be present in this so-called reality, time, space. There's things seemingly happening, and you're immersed in it. So you're very focused on what you're doing, and you can be very effective. Skillful action. It's a flow state where you just totally absorbed in what you're doing, but you're totally present to it, and it feels pretty good to be in that state. It's a kind of a happy. There's a happiness in action, really. I'd call flow. So the more you meditate, the more you can do that. You get into flow quite easily, and then you zoom out and you can go into deep meditation and just go, okay, I'm just removing myself from all of that, and there's no need to do anything. I need to do nothing. I'm sitting or lying quietly, and just I'm in my true awareness. That awareness of who I am is arising. It's just pure formless awareness, and that zooms me out of the entire illusion. I rise above the battleground, and I get a higher perspective on whatever I'm experiencing, because in the zooming out, those things aren't experienced anymore. They just disappear temporarily. The thoughts and emotions, you can just kind of go, well, I can drop them all. And it's very restful. So then you have this deep rest, and then you're ready to zoom in again. And it's kind of this zoom in, zoom out is the flow of life. And they've done research on various high performers in every area of life, and they have this ability to zoom in and zoom out, so they can focus, and they can flow with whatever's happening, and they can do that intensely for a time, and then they rest, and then they'll step back, and they'll have some rest, and that's the zooming out. Because you can't maintain the flow if you don't zoom out. You can't maintain flow sustainably unless you take time to zoom out, because your mind will get tired, fatigued.
Yeah, believing that
you
you are the dream character was just doing the things guided by flow.
Yeah. So it, that's why we have things like sleep, and we have meditation, and whatever practices are zoom out practices, because they help you to zoom in more. And so it's finding the balance, that you get that balance right for you. That, okay, yes, I'm zooming out. Maybe in this phase of your dream, you're zooming in more because you're kind of engaging in the world, but you're still taking time to zoom out, time out of your day to meditate, to contemplate spiritual ideas, to practice the workbook, to have these discussions. That's a zoom out. That's a zoom out phase. And then it gives you the ability to zoom in and be really focused and really effective. And most people can't do this. So they just play their addictions. They're like, well, it's that addiction, to that addiction, to that addiction. They're just feeding their addictions all the time, because they haven't learned this ability to zoom in and zoom out. And just to be totally, find this reality, even the world of time and space, find it satisfying, because the presence of God or love is with you, and it's in you, and it's guiding your thoughts and your words and your actions. And so it's coming through you, and you can see that it does work, and it's can lead to some quite amazing results and experiences. And so then you're living your life in flow, and that's the only way to live it, to find enjoyment moment by moment.
I have an interesting. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I thought
You're breaking up, Katie.
Julian, and he said 2 things you can choose. Like, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So Coach America is saying that everything is a call for love or expression of love, or you can only serve one master, Holy Spirit or ego. And Dr. Hulen said you can only choose if you want to act from memory or from inspiration. And for that, he is always cleaning, like saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thanks." And I thought that is zooming out, like cleaning, letting go, and then the natural flow, like he is Holy Spirit, he knows that, and because he's zooming out, the flow just happens, like zooming in, then it just happens, like, and then it's like, wow, this kind of makes sense. That means like the Holy Spirit is, so how we have to act in the stream, it's already scripted, and when we let go of the belief that we are something else in Holy Spirit, like zooming out, then Holy Spirit will take over. Zoom in will happen naturally.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the essence of A Course in Miracles right there. That's why it's called A Course in Miracles, not A Course in Revelation. So Revelation is zooming out, like serious zooming out. You're just letting go of the entire dream of time and space. So that's the letting go, and then the letting go leads to a state of flow. So that's why I say, this art of letting go is about learning to let go and find your flow, because the letting go activates the flow.
Yeah. So the biggest. Sorry.
Yeah. The question
would be so miracles can happen in time, and flow is only needed in time. And would be the biggest so I wonder if revelation could be seen as the biggest miracle, like the last miracle, could it be seen like that? Like, oh, if you have a real revelation, it's like the biggest miracle, and then everything just stops. Like the whole world disappears.
Hmm.
Because also it happens in
Yeah, I mean,
time.
he says God takes the final step. So it's kind of like a final letting go, I suppose. It's a final removing of any sense of separation, and that happens when you're ready. He's saying, well, this, you've got to you do the work consciously and you let go, and then at some point it's going to happen. God takes the final step. This pure formless awareness will just arise so strongly in your mind because it's a reality. You've removed all the blocks that it comes in, and that's grace. You're just given that. But it's the preparation for grace, which is this process of zooming out, letting go, zooming in, which is actually being in the flow of life. But you now being guided by the Holy Spirit. And so that's why he's called it A Course in Miracles, because the miracles are the flow state. The miracles are, yes, well, a miracle implies a couple of things. It implies that you've let go. Miracles are correction in your perception. It implies that you've let go, and then it also implies there's some kind of a result from that in time. So your state has changed at the very least. You're in a happier state, but sometimes things can happen in the dream. So a relationship changes, situation shifts into something else that's more helpful. Something happens that's very beneficial because you changed your state, because you zoomed out and you let go. Then miracles happen. So it's just another way of looking at at the teaching of A Course in Miracles, of what he's really saying. Those two movements of the mind, that are two of the primary benefits of meditation, are exactly what the Course is training you to do. And he's got a mind training process to help you to do that and become more and more authentic to who you are as you do this. See, authenticity, as Brené Brown says, is a daily practice of letting go of who we think we're supposed to be and embracing who we are. So it's like this continuous, I'm zooming out. My ego is trying to take me in to whatever its pattern is. I zoom out of that. I'm doing the letting go. And now I embrace is a zooming in movement, isn't it? I embrace who I am. So in the moment, I'm like, okay, I am this presence, and I can express this presence, extend this love in this situation. And so I'm embracing who I am by speaking and acting in ways that are inspired by this presence. Do you see that? Now I'm zooming into who I really am, and I'm practicing who I really am through this, by letting go of what I'm not, and then allowing the flow to direct me, and then I start to learn who I really am. So we learn that this is who we are because we're thinking this way, and we're speaking it, and we're acting it, and we're reinforcing it. So words, and particularly actions, are the most powerful form of affirmation. So you're always affirming either the ego or the spirit. And Jesus is training us to say, okay, well, let go of the ego, deny the ego, stop feeding it, and then you'll start feeding the spirit, and you'll start embracing who you are. It's like an immersion. It's like self-embracing. See this little kid. It's like you're immersing yourself into this new self, and you thinking it, you speaking it, you acting it, and you're just practicing it. Your life becomes the practice of it, right? I'm practicing being my true self here in this situation, and then the situation changes. Oh, well, now I'm practicing being myself in this situation, and that's what life is for. You're practicing being who you really are. The more you do that, the more you will learn who you are, and eventually you know who you are completely, without any doubt, and then the work is done when you really know who you are. So yeah, just different ways of looking at it.
I think I could now. I like. Well, we talked so much, and it's like I have to go, and sometimes, but still, that's the last thing I want to say. I won't say anything more to this discussion right now. I thought about having and giving is the same, and receiving and giving is also, it's like they're also the same. Having, giving, and receiving is the same. So if, it's like I am, through Course in Miracles, I start to give myself. I give myself to me.
Yeah.
And then I experience, okay, that's what I am. Oh, I have this. I had myself all the time, and then this feeling of who I am, and oh, I didn't know myself, and oh, there's this void in me, and it seems like it will jump on me, so I have to not look inside. That that feeling will go away. Like this feeling of being split, and like Hermann Hesse, he's a German writer. He wrote not only Siddhartha, he wrote also another story, and it was about that human being feels like he is animal and human, like has something. Some part of him is like a wolf, and the other part is like innocent and kind and humanistic.
And the one that wins is the one you feed. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
So, which one are you feeding? That's a Native American proverb as well. I don't know if you heard that, So the grandfather's sitting down with his son, and he says, well, it's like you've got these two wolves in your mind. The one's this hungry wolf that's going to devour you, and the other one is a kind mother she-wolf who's going to, nurture you and take care of you. The little boy says, well, so which wolf wins? And the grandfather says, well, it's the one you feed. So, what are you feeding with your thoughts? Thoughts and emotions feed the one or the other. If you're thinking attacking thoughts, you're thinking fearful thoughts, you're thinking thoughts about what society wants you to be. I mean, if you look at what's going on and with currently with COVID, it's really saying this is who you are. Right? You need to be now fearful. You need to wear your masks. You need to take your vaccine, and they're trying to define how people should be quite profoundly. I mean, you just wearing a mask all the time. Okay, that's quite a thing to have to do all the time. That's like suddenly it's a self-definition starts developing. Oh, I'm someone who complies with the rules, and I'm being responsible. I'm being safe because I wear my mask or I take my vaccine. And there's a self-definition there, and that's a sign trying to tell us who we are through these mechanisms. Now, that this is who you are. You are a body, and you are fearful, and you better be careful. And you don't have your own mind. You must listen to authority because authority is right, and your own intuition and your own self. Don't listen to that because that can't possibly be right. All the doctors and the system is right, and if you have any doubts, that's not right. Listen to us rather. And so it's a complete denial of your authentic self. Is being denied by all of this, and it's up to you whether you're going to believe it or not.
Yeah, because it's my dream. I made it up.
Yeah.
I scripted it.
Yeah.
I made up hierarchies of illusion and could say, oh, this idea of the virus is hurts me more than the idea that I need money. It's like, no, it's like it's supporting the same illusion of needs.
Yeah. So when you see that this is all part of my dream, and this is the ego playing itself out, and I don't need to listen to this, I don't need to respond to it, I don't need to honor it, because if I listen to it and I honor it, then I'm giving it power. And then the ego is in business. If I give the ego any power, then I'm really denying God completely. So Jesus is telling us, do not listen to the ego in any way, shape, or form. And you can't really fudge this. You can try, but truth be told, you're not really doing it. There was a I don't know if I think you hadn't met us then. It's an old video, so you can find it on YouTube where I talked about vaccines and this A Course in Miracles. What does Jesus say about vaccines? And I used there was another crowd, they called the Circle of Atonement. So they teach A Course in Miracles, and they had this conversation with Robert Perry, who's kind of the founder, and a lady called Emily Bennington, who's kind of the CEO.
Yeah, I joined some stuff from them, so I know them.
Yeah. So and they were going on about this vaccine, and they were punting taking the vaccine in terms of A Course in Miracles. I was like, okay. And they took a section of the Ur text, the original script, which actually wasn't even in the Ur text. It was so interesting because I looked it up and I was like, this isn't even in here. It's not even in the Ur text. It's like, I think it was in Helen's notes. It didn't even make it into the Ur text, the original manuscript. And they took this, and it was a situation where Jesus said to Bill, okay, you're worried about flu, so I'm gonna help you, and I'm gonna send a doctor who was the head of the flu board to give you the answer that you need. And the doctor came along and said, take the vaccine. And so then they're going, oh, well, this is very significant in terms of now, because Jesus is saying take a vaccine. And I'm going, whoa. Just back up there, because this is context. You see, you got to look at the context of how and when it happened. This was in the very early days of the course being scribed. It was in the first few weeks after Helen had started this process of scribing the text. And so he was trying to get their trust. He was trying to get these people on board, that they would trust him with this process, because he knew the work that was ahead of them. This was going to last 7 years. And so I think Bill had a fear, and he was like, okay, well, I want to show you. I'm going to use this situation to show you that I can help you. And I'm going to send you an expert who's going to come and tell you and give you an answer. And that answer is going to be more helpful than the form of it. It's not really about the vaccine or not the vaccine. It's actually about the miracle of you think you have a need, and then I'm going to show you that all of your worldly needs can be met, so that I can get your trust, and you can start to let go of some of that fear and start to trust me, in other words, the Holy Spirit, more and more. So it's context, that's what was going on. And they go, oh, no, well, now we can extrapolate that to 50 years later. And Jesus would certainly say that, wear your mask and take your vaccine. I'm going, okay, well, let's just have a look at what the Course actually says then. Not a part that never made it into the old text. Let's actually have a look at the principles. So if you go to lesson 76, you can see my screen.
Mm-hmm. And do you think we can make it till 3
Yes,
p.m.?
Yeah, we can. So we'll go and we'll move into the into doing a meditation, if you like. And so he's saying there are no laws but God's, right? And you think that you must obey the laws of medicine and economics and health, and you put these laws under a long catalog of rituals. And he even says here, he even talks about vaccines in pretty scathing terms. He says, you really think a small round pellet or some fluid pushed into your veins with a sharpened needle will ward off disease and death? I mean, he's referring to it directly in the Course.
So it's also meaning the opposite. So it will don't help you to deal with death, and it will not make you. So it will do anything. It will just do what you want it to do for you.
What he's saying, the only reason you do it is you think it will ward off disease and death. It's the only reason you take a vaccine. And he's saying, do you really think that that's the case? So they do this whole thing, and they don't even mention this direct reference to vaccines in the Course, in the actual Course proper. That's extraordinary. How can you as proper Course students miss this? It's like, there it is. It's there in black and white. But that just shows you the power of this ego to try and get you to adopt this false egoic self and let society dictate who you are, rather than having the courage to say, look, this is who I am, and I'm going to stand by that. I'm not
But
going to allow.
when you say
Yeah.
there's good and bad food, aren't you doing the same? Like Dr. Hulen was eating junk food all the time because he blessed it, and then nothing happened. And Dr. Hawkins too. Like he's eating high cholesterol stuff like 5 eggs and bacon, and he had problems with cholesterol, and then he forgive it. Like it's not I'm not subject to that, and then he could do all the things and nothing happens. And he
Mm,
has even lower cholesterol than other people, and he's doing all that stuff.
mm.
It's like
It's all in the
there
mind.
is not something like good and bad food. It's not like there is no good and bad medicine. It's just what I make out of it.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, you can transcend all the physical laws. There's no doubt you can. But it's what's helpful. So eating a whole lot of junk food might really not be helpful for someone, because they're not quite at the level where they can forgive it all and it not affect their
Yes,
body.
that's right. That's right. If they believe that it's bad, it's like running in front of a car. Don't do that.
And there's certain biochemical processes that yeah, I mean, anything can be overcome. It's true. The mind, I mean, you know the story of the Ram Dass,
Yeah.
the yoga master taking all of the LSD that Ram Dass gives him, and he's not affected, because he's saying, like, look, actually the mind is more powerful. But that's someone at a very high level. So if someone else had done that, they would have they probably would have died, because you can't,
Yeah.
take 10 acid pills and not, I mean, that could have seriously. Yeah. So it's just what's where you're at the moment. And for a lot of people, like, healing the body is part of healing the mind. So they then go, okay, well, I need to look at things like diet and clean up my diet, and get into a good space, because that helps me. That helps my mind.
Yeah, and then
Um, and that's
I
part of
just
my process of healing.
I just don't like the idea that just saying the terms of good and bad food is making kind of real that there is like something like good and bad food. And
Hmm.
yeah, like I just maybe that's a task for me today to think of how to call it, like, because the idea that it's good or bad is in my mind and I made it real, and now I should see if I can transcend it. If not, I should, yeah, I believe in it. So the belief of good and bad food, yeah,
Hmm.
believed seemingly good food and seemingly bad food.
Hmm. Yeah, and ultimately, at the highest level, like, it doesn't matter. A true master could eat whatever, but could take poison and would be okay, because it wouldn't affect it. But that's a very high level of awareness and consciousness. So wherever we are on the spectrum of evolvement, we say, okay, well, maybe this is appropriate now. I'm eating, so I eat good food. Why I eat food that's nourishing and that feels good, rather than food that doesn't, because that's just seemingly that's the way that I nurture myself, and I express love. Um, so so for most people that's appropriate, and then maybe at some point they go, okay, well, it's okay if I have some so-called bad food every now and then, if I'm not guilty, if I don't get attached to it, and I just enjoy the experience. I remember listening to Byron Katie,
Yeah.
um, and so she used to be a smoker. She was very addicted to cigarettes and various other substances, and she was pretty much a mess. And then when she kind of woke up, she stopped all of that. She just didn't do it. She didn't feel the need to do it. So then she said she was traveling, I think it was in Turkey or something, and she just arrived at the airport, and this guy picked her up. It was a Turkish taxi driver, and he offered her a cigarette, and just went, okay, I'll go with that. And so she said, I smoked it, but I was joyful. I was really loving the moment. I was smoking the cigarette, and I'm in this Turkish taxi driver, and I'm talking to him, and the windows are down, and we're going through wherever, Istanbul or And it was just a lovely moment, you know what I mean? And I did it without any guilt and without any addiction. It was just like I did it in the moment as an expression of joy. And then, like, okay, I smoked a cigarette, the experience was over, and I didn't feel like I needed to smoke another one. And so, you know, that wasn't addictive. That was just for her in that moment. She felt like that was the right thing, and she felt joyful, and there was no guilt. And so, you know, that's not going to harm her. But it's when there's a pattern of, oh, no, I'm craving the physical, you know, the sensation of the smoking, or I'm craving the substance. That's when it becomes unhealthy, because then the ego's got you, and it's another addiction. It covers over your higher self. Okay, so let's just read. We've got 2 paragraphs, and then we'll go into a quick meditation. We'll just do 10 minutes on the lesson.
Okay.
So you want to read number 2?
Yeah. The living love way to higher consciousness is based on the instant emotional acceptance here and now of that which you previously regarded as unacceptable in your life. Acceptance simply means that you won't cause yourself emotional conflict because of your current perceptions. Now, emotional acceptance doesn't mean that you have to continue living the rest of your life with any particular person or situation. Should I read the next 2? Yeah. Or pause?
Yeah. Does that make sense? Acceptance. You won't cause emotional conflict. You have to continue. So it's kind of a paradox. You can accept something, and then you can actually do something to change it. The interesting thing is resistance. If you resist something, then you're more likely to stay stuck in the situation, even though you're resisting it,
because I make it real.
Yeah. So craving and aversion are the same. Aversion is simply saying, I desire very strongly for this not to be the way it is. And of course, the more you do that, the more you actually get stuck in the way it is. And because the ego likes the aversion reaction. And so the acceptance is another way of saying emotional acceptance is that you're letting go. You're aware, you're observing whatever the emotions are, and you're in that observer state, and you're able to zoom out and then be able to say, well, this doesn't define me. I'm not this emotion. So that's really what acceptance is. Another way of letting go. Another
it's
way
like
of phrasing letting go.
It's like I'm focusing on the problem, and then the idea of the problem, and I don't know what lesson it was. It was like all problems are solved. You can see that when I'm looking up from above. Did you hear me?
You broke up a bit there, so I didn't get a lot of that.
Yeah.
Okay, shall we move swiftly on with the river? It says don't push the river. So let's move on with the flow. You want to read the 3rd paragraph?
To grow in the living love way, you don't have to drill yourself and criticize yourself with military precision. Just experience everything in an accepting, relaxed, and conscious way, and realize that every one of your experiences is perfect for your here and now growth into higher consciousness. Your addictions will gradually fade away when you use the living love pathways to consciously interpret your moment-to-moment stream of consciousness.
So just observe them. You observe these things coming up. You observe, and then you're able to find that awareness that is not the addiction. You are not that. And then there's a natural letting go, and then you can help it on its way by simply saying, okay, I'm going to release this. I'm going to release the thought, release the emotion. I'm going to release the sensation. You can use the breath to help you. It's like, okay, I'm just letting that whole energy, because that's all it is. It's an energy that's expressing through you. You're just releasing it. And so yeah, it's, just as things arise, you release them, and it's not this military precision, drilling yourself, criticizing yourself. Funny, actually, someone just messaged me about a workshop that I went on years ago, about 12 years ago, and it was like a transformational workshop. And the guy who ran it was so militaristic, was so like, you know what I mean? You could see very rigid. I was like, this doesn't really work, because that's not what this is about. You know what I mean? It's not about military precision and drilling everyone. And I mean, it was so harsh, and people couldn't get it. Oh my goodness, was he judgmental? And you're like, this isn't the way. You know what I mean? This isn't a loving, kind, flowing way of doing transformation. It's a very hard, rigid, judgmental way. And it made people feel very threatened and very fearful, which, put people into fear, and they can't actually respond. I mean, he'd sit there and he'd ask people to get like the naming. I actually got the naming your game process from that from that workshop that I did. So it was valuable. I'm very glad I did it. But I was like, okay, but you need to do this differently, because the way he did it wasn't right. And he'd sit there, and someone couldn't remember. He asked him to say a phrase, the end of it, to say like, thank you for showing me my shadow and helping me release it. And this person is in so much fear that they just freeze up. It's like a bunny in headlights, and they just frozen. And he's going, right, we're all sitting here, the whole group, there's 20 of us, all waiting for you to get your act together. And this person's just freaking out. And I'm going, you can't do this to someone. You know what I mean? It's like, it's mental cruelty. You're tyrannizing this person, because you're putting them under so much stress that they're just not coping, and they're shutting down. And in front of everyone, it's like, oh, it was horrible. I was like, okay, that's not the way to do this. You don't tyrannize people. You don't use fear to undo fear. You show people there's another way. There's love and there's flow, and you can make light of it. Yes, you take them through a process, but you never condemn people. You never increase their fear, because that's, in fact, Jesus says at some point, increasing fear. If you're a teacher and you terrorize your students, that's not going to be very helpful for them, because you're just increasing their fear, and the whole point is to reduce their fear. And then he just says, don't push the river, just experience the river consciously from the vantage point of the 12 pathways. So the flow is like, yeah, okay, it's coming, addictions are rising, but I'm not judging or condemning anyone for those. Yeah, we all have our stuff. I'm just observing it, and I'm saying, okay, well, I can release it. If I judge and I condemn, I make it real, and I'm more likely to get stuck in it. So yeah, some good principles there. So I know you have to go in 10 minutes. So shall we move on to got any questions on that? Shall we move on to the lesson?
No, we can move on to the lesson.
Yeah, okay. So we'll move on to the lesson for today, which is lesson number 2. There's workbook lesson. Okay, so do you want to read the key idea?
Yeah. I have given everything I see in this room, on the street, from this window, in this place, all the meaning that it has for me. The exercises with this idea are the same as those for the first one. Begin with the things that are near to you, and apply the idea to whatever your glance rests on. Then increase the range outward. Turn your head so that you include whatever is on either side. Possible, turn around and apply the idea to what was behind you. Remain as indiscriminate as possible in selecting subjects for its application. Do not concentrate on anything in particular, and do not attempt to include everything you see in a given area, or you will introduce strain. Merely glance easily and feel fairly quickly around you, trying to avoid selection by size, brightness, color, material, or relative importance to you. Take the subjects simply as you see them. Try to apply the exercise with equal ease to a body or a button, a fly or a floor, an arm or an apple. The sole criterion for applying the idea to anything is merely that your eyes have lighted on it. Make no attempt to include anything particular, but be sure that nothing is specifically excluded.
Okay. So any thoughts on that? I mean, it's actually pretty simple instructions. He's being very specific in his instructions. You understand why he's saying just be pretty casual about it and avoid selection by size and brightness and color, material, or relative importance to you.
Yeah, to not make it a ritual.
And not create difference, not create separation in your mind. Oh, that's more important than that. See, that object or that thing I'm seeing has a special meaning. See,
hierarchy of illusions.
Yeah. So now, and this is what we do all the time. I tend, oh no, that, oh, I love that object. So that's very special. I'm not really bothered about that. So if that one breaks, that's not fine. But if that one breaks, then I'm going to be upset because I've attached the meaning to it. So he's trying to get us out of that. Say, look, it's all the same. He applies idea because the truth is true and it applies to everything.
Letting go of idols.
Yeah, which is any attachment to anything in this world, whether that's an object or a person, living or inanimate, it doesn't matter. He's trying to get us to see everything as the same, which is quite profound. He's like, I have exactly the same attitude towards a fly as towards my son. Do you see what I mean? That's what he's saying. It's like it's all the same. It's like, whoa, okay, that's not easy, because our mind naturally, you see a human being and you have certain attitudes and perceptions and so on towards that person because they seem to be a person, and they seem, if they're in a special relationship with them, they seem to be important to you. And he's saying, no, don't make distinctions. That body and that seeming person and that wall, that floor, that door, it's all the same. It's all within this domain of illusion. So it's quite mind-blowing what he's asking us to do. So shall we just practice it for 5 minutes and then you can go?
Yeah, we can do that.
I'll just do a quick mind training, shall we? So, I mean, you can stay longer. I'm happy to go longer, but if you have to go at 3, then.
I think I can do maybe. Yeah, we can do 10 minutes, and then I have to really
10 minutes.
go.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So making yourself comfortable. Just sitting with your feet shoulder width apart, back straight, cup your hands in your lap, close your eyes. Take a nice deep breath in through the nose, breathing in through your nose, noticing how the stomach rises, the chest rises, and subtle flow of air in through your nostrils, clenching the sphincter muscle so you lock the energy in, drawing it up into spine, flow upwards, this warm tingling thread of energy flowing up the spine into the crown of your head. In the end, pausing at the top of the inhale, and you smile. And just finding some space, some awareness, going inwards. If there's anything disturbing your peace, thoughts, emotions, sensations, just observe them quite casually. Imagine they're like clouds. You're rising above the clouds. You're in the light, so you observe them from above the clouds. And the clouds really have no power to obscure the blue sky, your true awareness, or the light of your source that shines through it. And so you just look at them and you laugh and you just let them go with your breath. Exhale out through the mouth. Just letting them go into the nothingness they really are. Follow the stomach into the spine, expel the last remaining air out. And just rest here for a few moments in the peace and the stillness that come when you let go. And just finding this deeper connection, going within. You go within, you zoom out of the world. So just observing the breath, breathing in and out through your nose. Breathing in, breathing out. Observe the sensations of the breath in your nose and your nostrils. The area just below your nose, between your nose and your upper lip. Tips of your nose, tip of your nose. And you just observe sensations as being equanimous. Allowing your experiences to arise, and they last a while, then they pass away, and you just notice that. So you become the pure witness when you just observe your breath. Focus all your attention on the breath, so there's no room for interpretation. Interpretation, judgment is what keeps the world real for us, keeps us making a meaning that is not there. So that leads us nicely into today's workbook lesson, which is, I've given everything I see in this room all the meaning that it has for me. So you're going to open your eyes, just look around the room. Take a nice deep breath in as you do this. And say to yourself, I've given everything I see in this room all the meaning that it has for me. And just let your eyes casually rest on whatever they rest on. So you repeat this slowly to yourself. So I've given this table all the meaning that it has for me, for instance. I've given this lamp all the meaning that it has for me. I've given this phone all the meaning it has for me. This computer, all the meaning it has for me. And so on. And just don't strain, just whatever your eyes rest upon is suitable subject for applying the idea. Just glance easily and fairly quickly around you. And don't select anything. Okay, well, I'll select that while I'll avoid something. Try to apply the exercise with equal ease to whatever it is that you see. Anything that your eyes have lighted on is suitable. Make sure that you don't exclude or don't include anything particular or exclude anything in particular. And so just do that for a few more objects. Notice how you feel as you do this. Quite calm, maybe just aware there's a sense of detachment. Maybe just feel neutral. I've given this given this whole room all the meaning it has for me. Okay. Take it from the specific to the more general specific, the room. Notice how that thought feels. And then one more time, just repeat the idea, central idea to yourself. So say to yourself, I've given everything I see in this room all the meaning that it has for me. Breathe in on the truth of that. So you look around and close your eyes. Even though your visual sense is not there, you've still given everything all the meaning that you see. And seeing is really perception. So you might notice that there's thoughts about things coming up. You're not seeing anything with your body's eyes, but you're seeing with your mind's eye. The same thing applies. You close your eyes or you open your eyes. So closed eyes have given everything I see in my mind, all the meaning it has for me. It's also a statement of truth. Given everything I see in my mind, all the meaning that it has for me. And just rest in this, in the peace that comes from that for a minute of deep silence. Nothing else to do, nowhere else to go. Just breathe in and out through your nose. Relax and be still. And so just gently coming back on the count of 3. You're going to open your eyes. 1, just noticing the breath as you breathe in, sensations of the breath, stomach rising, chest rising. Notice what's going on in your mind. Hopefully there's just spacious awareness. But if there's anything else, then just observe it. Apply the idea today to it. So I've given this, whatever it is, all the meaning that it has for me. Exhale. Release it. Notice the air flowing out, chest and the stomach suck back in. And energy comes to rest in your lower stomach and your groin. Count of 2, notice the weight of your body pressing down into the chair, feet touching the ground. Breathe in again, notice any smell in your nose as you do that, any taste in your mouth, notice what you're hearing, the surrounding environment. But don't give it any meaning. If you don't name it and label it and judge it as real, then these things are just arising and passing away. They're flowing through the stream of consciousness. There's no attempt to attach to them or hold on to them because you simply cannot. Life is a dream and you just let it flow through all these experiences without attaching meaning. That's the essence of what today's idea is teaching. So on the count of 3, open your eyes, look around, and one more time, just to close this little mini meditation or breath break. Say, I've given everything I see in this room all the meaning that it has for me. And feel a sense of restfulness. As you do that, notice that state, anchor it in, so you can stay here in this nice, calm, spacious state of awareness. And should you feel like your peace is getting disturbed in any way by anything, just use today's idea as a quick means of correcting it in one breath and one sentence, and just looking around, applying the idea to whatever's around you. Find that it's a very effective way of releasing any negative thoughts and emotions. So I wish you good practicing with that for the afternoon. And I hope to see you this evening.
Of course. I think so.
7:30. 7:30 your time.
Yeah, I don't know if I can join today, but definitely tomorrow. The sessions on 1:30 p.m. I can do definitely. Well, how long will be the session at evening today?
I never know exactly, but I want to try and keep it to 2 hours. So let's have a look. We've got